The most popular prediction about virtual assistants right now is that AI is going to replace them. You have probably heard some version of it already. Why pay a person to do research, or draft an email, or clean up a document when a model can do all of that in seconds for almost nothing? It is a tidy little story, and I think it is wrong. So instead of sitting around waiting to find out who is right, I did the exact opposite of what that prediction tells you to do. I did not replace my assistant with AI. I handed my assistant my AI tools. I gave a real person on my team access to the same models I use every single day. I showed her how to actually use them, and then I paid very close attention to what happened next. And what happened is the whole reason I am making this video. The short version is this. The two together, a capable person and a good set of AI tools, are far stronger than either one of them on its own. Not a little stronger, a lot stronger. The person did not become unnecessary. The tools did not turn out to be a gimmick. Instead, each one quietly covered exactly what the other one was bad at. So let me walk you through what I actually gave her, how the combination holds up on real day-to-day work, where it still quietly fails, and the hard lines I will not let either the tools or the person cross. No hype, no doom, just what I have actually seen after running this for real, why I did the opposite. Here is the framing that made me want to try this in the first place. AI plus a capable human is a force multiplier, not a replacement. Those are two completely different ideas, and people mix them up constantly. A replacement means you remove the person and somehow keep the output. A multiplier means you keep the person and make everything they already do faster and lighter. The reason the multiplier is the one that actually works is simple. The human brings the three things the model does not have: real judgment, real context about my business and my customers, and real accountability when something goes wrong. The AI brings one huge thing back in return. It removes the slow first draft grind, the blank page, the hour of typing before you even have something to react to. All of that just goes away. Put those two together and you get a person who spends their time deciding and checking, instead of typing and waiting. And that shift from producing to deciding is the whole thing I was actually chasing here. What tools I handed over. So what did I actually give her access to? Three things, and I kept the list deliberately small. The first is a drafting assistant, a chat model she can hand a rough brief to and get a first version of an email, a document, or an outline back in a few seconds. The second is transcription, a tool that turns a long recording or a messy meeting into clean text she can actually work with. The third is a research helper, a model she can ask to gather and summarize what is known about a topic before she goes digging into it herself. And that is genuinely it. I did not hand her a sprawling pile of 20 different tools on the first day and wish her luck. 3 tools, each one solving a clear problem she already had. A small kit that a person can actually learn will always beat a huge one that they are quietly afraid to touch. And from the very first day, I put guardrails around that access because this part matters more than the tools themselves. She uses her own logins, never mine, so none of this is tied to accounts that touch money or anything sensitive. The tools she has can read and they can draft, but they cannot send, publish, or pay for anything on their own. And we agreed on one rule out loud before she ever touched a single model. The AI produces a draft, and the person decides. Nothing the AI writes goes out into the world until a human has read it and actively chosen to send it. I did not bury that rule somewhere in a document nobody opens. I said it plainly, to her face, because a rule you can repeat from memory is a rule that actually gets followed under pressure. First draft, then real judgment. Now let me show you the combination actually working, because that is where this stops sounding like theory. Take a normal writing task. She needs to write a longer reply, or a short guide, or a clear description of something. Before, that started with a blank page and 20 minutes of just staring at it. Now she hands the model a rough brief and gets a full first draft back in seconds. But here's the part that actually matters. She does not send that draft. She edits it with real judgment. She cuts the sentences that sound generic and hollow. She fixes the 2 small facts the model got slightly wrong. And she adds the specific detail that only a human who knows the situation would ever think to include. The AI got her to a rough version fast. She turned that rough version into something genuinely worth sending. Neither half of that does the job on its own. Calls, quick voice notes, long rambling explanations of how I want some task done. Before, A person had to sit and listen to the whole thing at real speed just to pull the useful parts out of it. Now the recording runs through transcription first, and then the model hands back a summary and a short list of the key points. But she does not trust that summary blindly, and this is the important half. She reads it back against the actual transcript and verifies it. AI summaries drop things. They will confidently leave out the one detail that actually mattered, or quietly soften a hard instruction into a vague suggestion. I have watched a summary turn a firm deadline into a soft maybe, which is exactly the kind of small slip that quietly breaks a project a week later. So the model does the first pass and saves the hour of listening, and the person does the check that makes the result something we can trust. Research fast, then fact check. The third combination is research. Say we need to understand a new tool, or a small market, or how some unfamiliar process actually works. The model pulls a starting picture together much faster than a person clicking through 20 open tabs ever could. It sketches the rough shape of the topic in a couple of minutes. But a model will also state something completely wrong with total confidence, and it will invent a clean-sounding detail that looks exactly as solid as a true one. So she does not take the output as fact. She treats it as a rough map, then she fact-checks the parts that actually matter against the real source, and she organizes the rest into something we can genuinely use. The AI made the gathering fast. The human made it correct. Get that order backwards, and all you have built is a way to publish confident nonsense faster than before. Routine questions from a template. The last combination is the most everyday one of all. We get the same routine questions over and over again. Before, each one still needed a person to write a fresh reply from scratch. Now there is an AI-assisted template. The model drafts an answer based on the pattern of how we have answered that exact question before, and she reviews it carefully before anything at all goes out. And that review is not just a rubber stamp. She checks that the answer actually fits this specific person and this specific situation, because the model has no idea that last week this same customer had a bad experience, and that a cheerful generic reply would land completely wrong. One wrong tone on a routine reply can quietly undo weeks of built-up goodwill, and the model has no way to feel that risk sitting under the words. The template gets her 90% of the way there in seconds. The human makes sure the final 10% is actually right. And nothing ever reaches a real person until she has looked at it and said yes. Where the human is essential. If you step back from all four of those examples, a very clean split shows up, and it is worth saying out loud. The AI is good at a specific, narrow set of things. Speed, structure, and first drafts. It is fast, it never gets tired, and it will happily produce a decent starting point at 3 in the morning without complaining. The human is essential for a completely different set of things. Judgment about what actually matters in this exact case. Catching the confident mistake. The fact stated so smoothly and so calmly that you would simply believe it if you were not paying real attention. The context the model does not have and cannot get about my business and my history. And anything at all that touches a real relationship with a real person, where tone and trust are the entire game. Speed sits on one side, judgment sits on the other. The trick was never choosing between them. The trick is knowing which is which. The honest results. So what were the honest results after living with this setup for a while? Two things clearly went up. Output went up and turnaround got faster. Work that used to eat a whole morning now gets finished well before lunch. But I want to be careful right here, because this is exactly where most people start to oversell it. The quality still depends entirely on the person doing the checking. That part did not change even slightly. The AI made an already good assistant noticeably more productive. It did not turn a weak process into a strong one, and it would not have rescued a careless or lazy person. If the human doing the checking is sloppy, the tool simply helped them produce sloppy work much faster, which is worse than before, not better. The multiplier just multiplies whatever was already sitting there. It has no opinion at all about whether that thing was any good. A bad process running faster is still a bad process, just arriving at the wrong answer sooner. Here is the line I want to say the loudest. It did not replace the person. It never even came close. Every single one of these examples has a human decision sitting right at the end that the tools cannot make, and honestly that I would not want them to make. The value was never in removing her from the loop. The value was in taking the slow, dull first draft part of the work off her plate, so that the sharp human judgment part got far more of her attention. She does a lot less typing now, and a lot more deciding. That is the entire win, start to finish. Anybody trying to sell you the version of this where the person just quietly disappears is selling you a nice story, not a system that survives 1 week of contact with real customers. The lines I do not cross. Which brings me to the boundaries, because they are genuinely the most important part, and they are the part almost everyone skips right past. There are specific things I do not let the AI or the assistant touch without me in the loop. Final publishing to a real audience is the first one. Anything that goes out under my name to a lot of people at once gets my own eyes on it, not because I do not trust her, but because the cost of one confident mistake at that kind of scale is just too high. Sensitive credentials and anything that moves actual money is the second. The tools cannot reach any of that at all by design, and the person only handles it through the normal careful channels, never through a model, and anything where a confident but wrong answer would be expensive stays supervised too. The rule underneath all of it is always the same. The more a mistake would cost, the more certain I am that a human checkpoint stays right there in the path. Cheap mistakes are allowed to move fast. Expensive ones wait for a person. Who this is actually for. So who is this whole approach actually for? If you already work with an assistant or any kind of small remote team, then giving them good AI tools and a little bit of real training is one of the highest leverage things you can do this entire year. You are not replacing anybody. You are taking someone who is already capable and making them meaningfully faster at the exact parts that used to drag them down, and the training is the quiet key to all of it. These tools do very little in the hands of a person who has not been shown clearly where they lie and where they genuinely shine. And if you do not have an assistant yet at all, then honestly, that is your first step, well before any of the AI part. Hire the person first. The tools multiply a person. They do not conjure one up out of thin air. One last practical note before I let you go. The place I actually hire from is a site called onlinejobs.ph, and the link for it is sitting down in the description, and I want to be completely upfront about that. It is an affiliate link, which means if you use it, I may earn a small commission at no extra cost to you whatsoever. I only point you to it because it is genuinely where I found the people I work with. If you want more honest breakdowns like this one about running a lean operation with AI and a small team, no hype and no doom, subscribe and follow along. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.